Welcome back to Crown Gaze. Tonight we are pulling back the heavy velvet curtains on a royal scandal so deeply buried and so utterly devastating that Buckingham Palace is terrified of what happens when the truth finally erupts. For years, the global media has been aggressively fixated on the disgraced Duke of York, documenting his every misstep and public failure. But we are here to tell you a very different story. While everyone was watching Prince Andrew, a more obscene secret was hiding in plain sight. We are witnessing nothing less than the final collapse of the York dynasty. Behind the polite royal smiles, the extravagant high society weddings, and the bespoke designer fascinators, a massive, shocking financial crisis is tearing this family apart from the inside out. And at the very center of this unprecedented storm, Princess Beatrice. Today, we are deeply investigating Beatrice's obscene crisis, a crisis exposed by a trail of dark money, desperate internal cover-ups, and a family completely addicted to a billionaire lifestyle they fundamentally cannot afford. The absolute bedrock of this entire nightmare starts with Beatrice's mother, Sarah, the Duchess of York. Recently, a cache of deeply shameful emails quietly erupted into the public domain, triggering a monumental royal scandal that palace aides have desperately tried to suppress. These are not just embarrassing private messages between friends, they are a glaring, radioactive paper trail. These panicked emails point directly to a shadowy £4 million secret, a massive influx of emergency cash that seemingly appeared out of nowhere to keep the sinking York ship afloat. For decades, the York family has operated like a rogue state within the British monarchy. Whenever the Duke and Duchess of York found themselves on the absolute brink of financial ruin, mysterious benefactors, dubious foreign loans, and unexplained financial windfalls miraculously bailed them out. But this £4 million deal is entirely different. Crown Gaze investigators have traced the implications of this money, and the questions it raises are staggering. Was this sudden cash injection specifically engineered to quietly fund the daughters' lavish lives? The York millions have always been a closely guarded family secret, but the walls are finally closing in. The protective royal shield around Prince Andrew has utterly collapsed, leaving Princess Beatrice standing directly in the crosshairs of King Charles's merciless new regime. To understand the sheer gravity of this financial crisis, you have to understand the profound, glaring disconnect between the Yorks' official public status and their everyday private reality. Princess Beatrice and her sister Princess Eugenie are officially categorized by the crown as non-working royals. Let that sink in. They do not perform official day-to-day public duties on behalf of the king. They do not receive a designated official salary from the sovereign grant. On paper, they are expected to carve out their own independent private careers, completely detached from the taxpayer-funded royal purse. Yet, despite this supposedly independent status, these two princesses are living a lifestyle that would make a Silicon Valley tech billionaire blush. We are talking about an obscene level of everyday spending. Let's break down the sheer, outrageous extravagance of their daily existence. Beatrice and Eugenie are regularly photographed vacationing on some of the world's most exclusive, ultra-luxury yachts. These floating palaces cost hundreds of thousands of pounds just to charter for a single week. Who is paying the exorbitant docking fees? Who is paying the private security and onboard staff? Who is footing the bill for the world-class catering? It certainly isn't coming from a standard corporate salary. Then, there is the wardrobe. This isn't just about throwing on a nice dress for a rare public appearance. Beatrice is a walking billboard for elite, inaccessible luxury. We are constantly seeing her decked out in high-end designer fashion, exclusive pieces from Beulah, London, bespoke hand-stitched gowns from Erdem, and custom-made fascinators that cost more than what the average hardworking British citizen earns in several months. This million-dollar lifestyle is paraded openly, almost defiantly, in front of a public currently grappling with a severe, crippling cost of living crisis. It is, frankly, shocking. Which brings us to the ultimate, explosive question, the siphon question, that has King Charles absolutely furious and the Yorks terrified of an audit. Who is really paying for it? Where is this endless river of gold actually coming from? If you are a non-working royal, yet your financial outgoings reflect an outrageously wealthy property tycoon, there is a fundamental mathematical impossibility at play. The math simply does not add up, and the crown knows it. The shameful reality is that the York family's finances have allegedly been operating as a murky, interconnected siphon for years. Money flows in from undisclosed, shadowed locations, bounces through the sprawling, gated estate of the royal lodge, and seemingly funds an untouchable, ultra-elite existence for the princesses. The York family's deep reliance on these hidden financial lifelines is exactly why Sarah Ferguson's leaked emails have sent such an unprecedented shockwave through the very foundation of the monarchy. Those frantic, shameful emails desperately begging for emergency funds prove that beneath the 2,500-pound Erdem dresses and the luxury Mediterranean yachts, there is a desperate, scrambling panic. The £4 million secret deal wasn't just a standard business transaction. It was a desperate lifeline needed to keep the grand illusion alive. But as our investigative spotlight intensifies, every single luxury holiday and every bespoke Beulah London coat becomes a damning piece of evidence in the brutal court of public opinion. The royal facade is finally cracking. The Yorks made one fatal miscalculation. They believed the money would never stop flowing, and they arrogantly believed the public would never start asking the hard questions. They were wrong. Their carefully constructed house of cards has completely, totally collapsed, setting the stage for a showdown that will shake the monarchy to its core. Just when it seemed the York family could not sink any deeper into this financial quagmire, a new element violently erupts into the fray. Enter Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi. When Beatrice married Edoardo in 2020, palace insiders breathed a massive sigh of relief. On the surface, he was the perfect royal match, an independently wealthy Italian aristocrat and successful property tycoon. He was supposed to be the anchor that grounded the chaotic Yorks. Instead, in a disastrous miscalculation, Edoardo's recent, highly controversial public interventions have completely detonated a once simmering PR nightmare, transforming it into an absolute catastrophe. As intense media scrutiny regarding the York millions intensified, Edoardo decided to break the ultimate unwritten rule of the British royal family. He boldly and foolishly spoke out on the global stage. In a move that left courtiers paralyzed with shocking disbelief, Edoardo attempted to publicly defend Beatrice's financial independence. He did so using a distinctly aggressive, American-style PR strategy of radical transparency. Edoardo is a self-made property tycoon. He operates in a cutthroat corporate world where vocal public pushback is standard. He fundamentally misunderstood how the British monarchy operates. This brash corporate transparency violently clashes with King Charles's deeply entrenched vision for a strictly slimmed-down monarchy. King Charles operates on the ironclad royal mandate: never complain, never explain. By attempting to loudly justify their obscene wealth and untangle Beatrice from Prince Andrew's toxic wreckage, Edoardo accidentally shined a massive spotlight directly onto the very financial mysteries they desperately wanted hidden. His ill-advised public statement actively made the already devastating crisis profoundly worse. Edoardo's aggressive defense completely backfired. Instead of generating sympathy, his arrogant defense highlighted their astronomical privilege. It reminded the public that while the Yorks claimed to be cut off from taxpayer money, their sprawling billionaire lifestyle remains subsidized by invisible, highly questionable channels. Because of Edoardo's disastrous decision, Beatrice's carefully curated image as an innocent, hardworking daughter entirely collapsed. He unintentionally exposed the ugly truth. You cannot demand the privileges of a senior royal while simultaneously operating as an untouchable corporate elite. This brings us to the most dangerous battleground in this unprecedented royal war: the Royal Lodge. Crown Gaze investigators have painstakingly connected the dots, and what we have exposed is a deeply shameful web of financial leverage. King Charles is systematically trying to forcefully evict Prince Andrew from this colossal 30-room mansion, but the Yorks are fiercely refusing to leave. Why? Because the sprawling Royal Lodge estate is essentially the absolute geographical center of this entire York millions mystery. Prince Andrew signed a highly controversial, practically ironclad 75-year lease on the property in 2003. Now, operating with a ruthless new efficiency, the king desperately wants him out of the main house. But to legally break that lease, King Charles would essentially have to trigger a massive, aggressive financial audit of the entire York family estate. This is exactly where the £4 million deal linked to Sarah Ferguson violently re-enters the narrative. If the Crown Estate officially audits the Royal Lodge, the endless stream of dark money allegedly funding Beatrice's obscene spending will be completely uncovered. The absolute paralyzing fear currently running rampant within the entire York camp is practically palpable. Palace insiders whisper that if a full forensic financial audit is ever officially triggered, it will not just result in a humiliating public scandal. In fact, among top royal insiders, there are now legitimate, terrifying whispers of genuine arrest fears. If the money siphoning is traced back to illegal offshore accounts, unsavory oligarchs, or illicit royal access peddling, devastating criminal charges could follow. The entire family is desperately clinging to the Royal Lodge because losing that lease fundamentally destroys their protective royal shield. King Charles has offered them an alternative: a highly embarrassing exile to a smaller property, or banishing them to the obscure depths of a minor royal estate like Marsh Farm. But for Beatrice, heavily addicted to the glamorous London society life, being permanently exiled to a forgotten royal outpost is a fate worse than death. The Royal Lodge is the final fortress. If the king successfully breaks down those doors, the hidden siphons of the York millions will be laid bare for the world to see, and the monumental scandal that erupts will utterly destroy whatever is left of Beatrice's shattered future. The final clock is now ticking, and time is running out. To fully comprehend the absolute severity of Beatrice's current predicament, we must examine the brutal, uncompromising shift in power at the very top of the institution. King Charles III is not his mother. He operates with a ruthlessly firm hand, desperate to permanently clean up a monarchy heavily stained by decades of shameful scandals and irreversible public relations disasters. Right now, the entire York family stands directly in the path of his royal bulldozer. Charles is executing what palace insiders are calling the ultimate untouchable move. He is aggressively severing the shadowy financial lifelines that allowed this rogue branch of the family to thrive. We have already witnessed exactly how merciless King Charles can be when the survival of the crown is fundamentally threatened. Just look closely at the Sussexes. When Prince Harry attempted to leverage a high-stakes public ultimatum against the palace, King Charles completely and totally rejected it, permanently banishing him from the inner circle. Charles is now actively applying that exact same terrifyingly ruthless playbook to the Yorks. He views the obscene financial entanglements of Beatrice, Eugenie, and their parents as a cancerous threat to his historical legacy. Furthermore, Queen Camilla has reportedly taken an absolutely untouchable stance regarding this exact matter. She has allegedly made it crystal clear to the king that the Yorks' obscene behavior and highly questionable financial siphons can no longer be tolerated under any circumstances. Camilla knows perfectly well that if the British public ever realizes the full, devastating extent of this dark money, the entire credibility of their reign will be instantly destroyed. But the Yorks are definitely not going down without a vicious, scorched earth fight. Cornered, desperate, and watching their protective fortress rapidly crumble, Prince Andrew has reportedly issued a terrifying ultimatum to the king. Palace insiders are actively leaking that the disgraced duke has threatened to go nuclear. What exactly does this mean? It means intentionally unleashing a devastating arsenal of deeply buried family secrets, dark financial leverages, and highly classified institutional cover-ups that could easily bring the entire House of Windsor to its knees. Andrew is aggressively weaponizing his own public disgrace, effectively holding the modern monarchy hostage to desperately protect the financial future and highly privileged, untethered lifestyle of his daughters. This unprecedented nuclear threat is precisely why King Charles is utterly terrified, and exactly why this internal standoff is so extraordinarily dangerous. If Charles pushes too hard and triggers the full forensic financial audit of the York millions, Andrew's retaliation immediately erupts into a scandal that radically eclipses everything before it. But if the king backs down now, he looks astonishingly weak, forever trapped by the Yorks' calculated extortion. And where exactly does this leave Princess Beatrice? She is standing paralyzed at the precipice of absolute ruin. The consequences of this crisis are truly staggering. Leading royal experts are now confidently predicting that the immediate future holds a devastating reality for Beatrice and Eugenie. There is a highly probable escalating scenario where King Charles, forced to permanently neutralize the threat, permanently strips them of their royal titles. Without those royal titles, the entire grand illusion of their elite aristocratic status is entirely obliterated. They face the very real, terrifying prospect of losing their luxurious taxpayer-funded homes, their elite security detail, and their last remaining shred of public credibility. The glamorous days of bespoke designer fashion and ultra-luxury Mediterranean yachts will be violently replaced by humiliating public audits and potential royal exile. What we are witnessing is definitely not just a temporary public relations bump. It is the final collapse of their elite status in the innermost circle of global power. The facade is entirely shattered. Beatrice's carefully constructed world has completely collapsed, thoroughly exposed as nothing more than a hollow, heavily leveraged illusion built on a fragile foundation of desperate, shocking secrets. The York dynasty is currently facing total annihilation, and the toxic secrets buried deep beneath the royal lodge are finally being violently dragged into the light. The British monarchy is operating at an absolute breaking point, and the ultimate fate of Princess Beatrice hangs entirely in the balance. We are closely tracking every single explosive development of this rapidly escalating royal financial financial war. And we absolutely need to know exactly what you think. Do you think King Charles should finally drop the hammer and permanently strip Princess Beatrice and Eugenie of their royal titles? Head over to our community tab right now and vote in our exclusive official channel poll. Your voice matters, and we want to see exactly where the public stands on this shameful royal crisis. If you want to fully understand the terrifying origin of this dark money trail, you absolutely must watch our deep dive investigation into Sarah Ferguson's disastrously leaked messages. Click the video on your screen right now to watch The Shameful Emails and uncover the massive £4 million secret that originally triggered this entire catastrophe. We will continue to aggressively expose these deep royal financial secrets every single week. Do not let the mainstream media quietly dictate the narrative. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and join the Crown Gaze community as the absolute truth finally erupts. Until next time, keep your eyes on the crown.